विश्व युद्ध में जापान से लोहा लिया था। सन 1944 में इन्हें डिस्टिंग्विश्ड फ्लाइंग क्रॉस से विभूषित किया गया। 26 जनवरी 2002 को इन्हें मार्शल ऑफ द एयरफोर्स की पदवी से विभूषित किया गया। इनका नाम मार्शल ऑफ द एयरफोर्स अर्जुन सिंह है। भारतीय वायुसेना के लिए मिसाल माने जाने वाले इस जाबाज सेना नायक का निधन 16 सितंबर 2017 को हुआ। तब वे 98 वर्ष के थे। भारतीय वायुसेना के एक महत्वपूर्ण बेस एयरफोर्स स्टेशन पानागढ़ का नामकरण इन महान सेना नायक के नाम पर किया गया है। मार्शल ऑफ द इंडियन एयरफोर्स लेट अर्जुन सिंह, distinguished flying cross, strongly believed in 4 simple principles throughout his life, and I quote, firstly, one should be thorough in his profession. Secondly, one should complete the job at hand to the satisfaction of everyone. Thirdly, one must have implicit faith in his subordinates. And fourthly, one's efforts should be honest and sincere. If one follows these 4 principles, he can never go wrong. Unquote. Marshal of the Indian Air Force. सन 1978 से सन 1981 की अवधि में भारतीय वायुसेना के प्रमुख रहे एयर चीफ मार्शल इदरीस हसन लतीफ परम विशिष्ट सेवा मेडल ने द्वितीय विश्व युद्ध, बर्मा अभियान, भारत पाक युद्ध और भारत चीन युद्ध में महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दिया। वे भारतीय वायुसेना के पुनः उपकरण और आधुनिकीकरण के लिए पूर्ण रूपेण प्रतिबद्ध थे। उन्होंने भारतीय वायुसेना में मिग-23, मिग-25 और जैगुआर स्ट्राइक एयरक्राफ्ट के अधिष्ठापन में एक अहम भूमिका निभाई। इनका निधन 30 अप्रैल 2018 को हुआ। वे 95 वर्ष के थे। इन सभी शूरवीर वायु योद्धाओं को हम श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करते हैं।
भारतीय वायुसेना की शान के इतिहास के कुछ और पन्नों में 4 चांद लगाने का श्रेय जाता है फ्लाइंग ऑफिसर निर्मलजीत सिंह सिखों को, जिन्होंने सन 1971 के भारत पाक युद्ध में अदम्य साहस का परिचय दिया और दुश्मन से लोहा लेते हुए अपने प्राण मातृभूमि की बलिवेदी पर न्योछावर कर दिए। इन्हें मरणोपरांत परमवीर चक्र से अलंकृत किया गया। स्टेज के ठीक पीछे की भव्य इमारत इस अकादमी की उड़ान शाखा की मुख्य इमारत है और इसका नाम इसी महान योद्धा के नाम पर रखा गया है।
कारगिल युद्ध में भारतीय वायुसेना की भूमिका की संपूर्ण राष्ट्र भूरी भूरी प्रशंसा करता है। युद्ध एवं शांति काल दोनों में भारतीय वायुसेना सदैव राष्ट्र सेवा में तत्पर रहती है। असंख्य उदाहरण हैं जब हमारे यातायात विमानों एवं हेलीकॉप्टरों ने राहत एवं बचाव कार्य तथा खोज मिशनों में उपलब्धियां हासिल की हैं, जैसे कि 2001 में गुजरात, 2005 में कश्मीर में भूकंप, 2013 में उत्तराखंड, सितंबर 2014 में जम्मू और कश्मीर में बादल फटने से बाढ़, 2015 में अप्रैल में नेपाल में भूकंप, जनवरी 2016 में मणिपुर में भूकंप, 2017 में राजस्थान, उत्तर प्रदेश, बिहार और असम में बाढ़। उसी साल आर्थिक नाकाबंदी से जूझ रहे मणिपुर में मालवाहक विमानों का तेल के टैंकरों को गुवाहाटी से इम्फॉल पहुंचाना, 2018 में लेह में बारिश और बर्फबारी, तमिलनाडु के तेनी जिले में कुरंगानी पहाड़ियों में जंगलों में लगी आग में फंसे लोगों को बचाने का कार्य और इस तरह के अनेक विपदाओं में भारतीय वायुसेना ने अनुकरणीय एवं अथक सेवाएं प्रदान की हैं।
वर्ष 2018 में केरल में आई बाढ़ के दौरान भारतीय वायुसेना के 17 हेलीकॉप्टरों ने अदम्य साहस का परिचय देते हुए कुल 288 उड़ानें भरी, जिससे यह साबित हो गया कि भारतीय वायुसेना के शब्दकोश में असंभव शब्द का कोई स्थान नहीं है। इस भारी प्राकृतिक आपदा में कुल 54,800 लोगों को सफलतापूर्वक राहत शिविरों एवं सुरक्षित स्थानों पर पहुंचाया गया। इसके अतिरिक्त 380 टन खाद्य सामग्री, दवाइयां एवं अन्य सहायता सामग्री को भी यथास्थान पहुंचाया गया। इस अभियान को करुणा नाम दिया गया था।
We take this opportunity to thank each one of you for wearing your masks, practicing sanitization, and ensuring social distancing norms.
May I have your attention, please? All the parents are requested to be seated on the right side of the dais. I repeat, all the parents are requested to be seated on the right side of the dais. अरुणाचल प्रदेश के जम्पनी जिले की सियांग नदी में आई बाढ़ के दौरान भी 19 लोगों को बचाया गया था। भारतीय वायुसेना के इस अदम्य साहस के लिए प्रत्येक भारतीय कृतज्ञ है। भारतीय वायुसेना ने सबसे अहम भूमिका 2014 से 2017 की अवधि में निभाई, जब श्रीनगर और चेन्नई में बाढ़ से काफ़ी त्रासदी हुई। अत्यंत गंभीर चक्रवात तूफान हुदहुद और वर्धा, जिसने पूर्वी भारत के कई इलाकों में भारी मात्रा में उत्पात मचाया, उस दौरान भी भारतीय वायुसेना ने तत्परता से बचाव कार्य में योगदान दिया।
Ladies and gentlemen, please take this moment to switch off your mobile phones and other electronic equipment to avoid interference with the audio system.
भारतीय वायुसेना सिर्फ अपने देश में ही नहीं बल्कि अन्य राष्ट्रों में भी सहायता के लिए हमेशा तैयार रहती है। दिसंबर 2014 में जब मालदीव्स के एकमात्र विलवनीकरण संयंत्र में आग लगी थी, तब पीने के पानी की आपूर्ति बुरी तरह प्रभावित हुई थी। इस आपदा में भारतीय वायुसेना के सबसे बड़े मालवाहक विमान C-17 और IL-76 ने भारी मात्रा में मालदीव्स के नागरिकों को पीने का पानी मुहैया कराया था। अप्रैल 2015 में भारतीय वायुसेना के वायु योद्धाओं ने अद्भुत साहस का परिचय दिया, जिसमें उन्होंने हिंसा और दंगों की मार झेल रहे यमन में युद्ध के मैदान से करीब 3500 लोगों को सफलतापूर्वक बाहर निकाला। इसमें भारत के ही 3300 से ज़्यादा नागरिक और 26 देशों के करीब 200 से ज़्यादा नागरिक शामिल थे। इस अभियान को ऑपरेशन राहत नाम दिया गया था।
It's been more than 2 decades since the induction of women officers into the Indian Air Force. They have been playing an active and direct role in furthering the glory of the Indian Air Force by shouldering the responsibilities along with their male counterparts. It has indeed strengthened the Indian Air Force. History was created when the first 3 women fighter pilots of the Indian Air Force were commissioned at the combined graduation parade on 18th June 2016. India joined a select few nations in the world that has women fighter pilots. Flight Lieutenant Avni Chaturvedi has created a landmark by becoming the first Indian woman fighter pilot to fly a MiG-21 Bison in her first training solo sortie in Jamnagar, Gujarat in February 2018. Flight Lieutenant Bhavna Kant soon followed her in March 2018 and became the second Indian woman fighter pilot to fly solo on the same aircraft. Ladies and gentlemen, it is pertinent to mention here that MiG-21 Bison has the highest landing and takeoff speed in the world, that is 340 kilometers per hour.
26 फरवरी 2019 को सूर्य की पहली किरण से भी पहले भारतीय वायुसेना के लड़ाकू विमानों ने वायु शक्ति की एक नई परिभाषा लिखी। पहली बार भारतीय लड़ाकू विमानों का प्रयोग भारत में अस्थिरता एवं अशांति फैलाने का प्रयास करने वाले तत्वों को समाप्त करने के लिए किया गया। इस साहसिक अभियान में भारतीय वायुसेना के 12 मिराज 2000 लड़ाकू विमानों ने देश के विभिन्न हवाई अड्डों से उड़ान भरते हुए 26 फरवरी 2019 की अर्धरात्रि में नियंत्रण रेखा पार करते हुए पाकिस्तान के बालाकोट स्थित आतंकवादी संगठन जैश-ए मोहम्मद के प्रशिक्षण शिविर पर हमला करके उसे निस्ते-नाबूद कर दिया। इस ऑपरेशन के दौरान भारतीय वायुसेना ने सटीक प्रहार करते हुए लगभग 300 आतंकवादियों को मार गिराया। भारतीय वायुसेना द्वारा की गई इस सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक को ऑपरेशन बंदर नाम दिया गया। भारतीय वायुसेना द्वारा किए गए इस सफल अभियान की न केवल भारत में अपितु संपूर्ण विश्व में सराहना की गई। भारतीय वायुसेना द्वारा किए गए इस अभियान के द्वारा संपूर्ण विश्व को यह संदेश दिया गया कि भारत के विरुद्ध किए जाने वाली किसी भी राष्ट्र विरोधी गतिविधि का हम समुचित एवं निर्णायक जवाब देने में सक्षम हैं।
अगले दिन पाकिस्तानी लड़ाकू विमानों ने भारत की सीमाओं में प्रवेश करने का असफल प्रयास किया, जिसे पलक झपकते ही भारतीय लड़ाकू विमानों एवं आकाश सुरक्षा तंत्र द्वारा विफल कर दिया गया। भारतीय वायुसेना आज भी नई पीढ़ी के युद्धक विमानों द्वारा दी जाने वाली किसी भी चुनौती का सामना करने के लिए सदैव तैयार है। यह भारतीय वायुसेना के उद्देश्य वाक्य पीपल फर्स्ट मिशन ऑलवेज को चरितार्थ करता है।
हमें इस बात पर अत्यंत गर्व है कि युद्ध एवं शांति काल दोनों में ही वायुसेना राष्ट्र सेवा में सजगता एवं तत्परता से जुटी हुई है। आज इस परेड में जो वायु योद्धा कमीशन प्राप्त करेंगे वे इस बलिदानपूर्ण, साहसपूर्ण एवं ऐतिहासिक वायुसेना की एक और कड़ी बनेंगे।
The Indian Air Force in its recent operation had deployed C-17 Globemasters and C-130J aircraft for evacuation of Indians stuck in Afghanistan. The operations were carried out after the takeover of Kabul by the Taliban. The conditions were such that the runway had to be cleared each time for the aircraft to take off and land. This was achieved through synergy between the Garud commandos of the Indian Air Force and Indo-Tibetan Border Police personnel.
Indian Air Force has always been the hope in flood relief operations all over India. The swift and prompt response made it possible to rescue valuable lives as well as drop relief material during rescue operations in Kishtwar district, Jammu and Kashmir, Midnapur and Hooghly districts of West Bengal and Shivpuri in Madhya Pradesh. The daring rescue and relief operations were conducted in close coordination and cooperation of Indian Army, National Disaster Relief Force and State Disaster Relief Force.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take this moment to switch off your mobile phones and other electronic equipment to avoid interference with the audio system.
May I have your attention, please? All the parents are requested to be seated on the right side of the dais. I repeat, all the parents are requested to be seated on the right side of the dais.
Leading Aircraftsman Arpit Tripathi will guide you through the display of precision rifle drill by the Air Warrior Drill Team Subroto of Indian Air Force. Air Warrior Drill Team Subroto is a unique display team and the first of its kind in India. The team consists of 28 young and vibrant air warriors who have been handpicked for the desired task. So far, the team has performed all over the country during last 17 years. Officer in charge of AWDT, Wing Commander Kunal Khanna, Team Administrator of AWDT, Squadron Leader Deepak Kumar, along with the able team of instructors, Warrant Officer Umesh Nandan, Sergeant Rajdeep Singh have been actively involved to bring up the standard of the display, which you will be witnessing in a short while. Today, the team will perform 3 grapple movements in 10 different formations. The motto of the team is Drill to Thrill. As the team leader marches forward to seek permission from the Honorable Chief Guest to start the demonstration, the team is ready to increase your heartbeats by their thrilling performance.
वही टाइटल टेलीकॉम ड्रिल शुरू करने की आज्ञा दे श्रीमान। आज्ञा है।
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first formation, the V formation. From here, the team will advance forward to present their impressive rifle skills in a closer view to you all. I need not mention the strict physical regime of the team members, as the 5.5 kg 303 rifle appears as a toy in their hands. Switching over to alternate line formation, meanwhile, leading aircraftsman Anuj Kumar will perform solo advanced drill, which is a combination of agility, flexibility and strength. The team now spreads over into plus formation and moves back to demonstrate their confidence in drill of self and their teammates. Ladies and gentlemen, the team is now forming in single aircraft formation. Watch out for one of the most difficult moments in which the air warriors throw their rifles blindly to the rearmen while marching. The next formation is the inclined line formation. Here, you can witness a series of drill exercises performed in continuation, followed by marching in the same order. Ladies and gentlemen, do not take your eyes off the rifles, which are going to be exchanged in that magical moment. And here they perform one more time for those who missed it the first time. The team will now advance forward after rearranging themselves into double aircraft formation and then demonstrate their skill in groups of 4. And here, leading aircraftsman Anuj Kumar is back amongst us with his impressive rifle maneuvers. A big round of applause for these air warriors. The team will now move back to form the square formation and will perform combination of movements in zigzag formations. Once again, a huge round of applause for these air warriors. The team now arranges itself for the double line formation to give you all a closer view of the drill movements. Ladies and gentlemen, while you all enjoy the drill movements, let me introduce you to the team members. Today's team is led by leading aircraftsman Shivam Narayan Jha. In the front rank, left to right, we have LAC Sagar Nayak, Priyanshu Dikshit, Prerit Nain, Niranjan Kumar, Sandeep Teotia, Mukesh Bola, Akshay Dhankar, and LAC Arjun Singh. In the rear rank, left to right, we have LAC Akash Singh, Vijay Teotia, Sahil Singh Chauhan, Yogesh Sundar Raj, Rishikesh Nayak, Shonu Duhan, Aditya Kumar, and LAC Vasu Rana. This scintillating music is composed by Wing Commander Jayachandran, Visist Seva Medal, retired, former director of Music Air Warrior Symphony Orchestra. The team now prepares itself for the grand finale, the tunnel formation, which is the most thrilling moment of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, watch out for the team leader. who is going to test the precision of the drill of his teammates by passing through the tunnel of rotating rifles with bare banners. This moment is the result of immense practice, focused hard work, coordination between mind and the body, and the confidence in the abilities of self and teammates.
वही अत्यधिक को ले जाने की आज्ञा दे श्रीमान। आज्ञा है।
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together once again for the wonderful performance by the young air warriors of Air Warrior Drill Team, Subroto of Indian Air Force. Jai Hind.
May I have your attention, please? Parents of Flight Cadet Shashwat Bharadwaj, Flight Cadet Shrikant Mishra, and Flight Cadet Astha Kaur are requested to be seated on the front rows.
Ladies and gentlemen, we take this opportunity to thank each one of you for wearing your masks, practicing sanitization, and ensuring social distancing norms. Ladies and gentlemen, may we draw your kind attention to your right to witness the solemn movements of Nishan Uncasing Drill, wherein the President's colors of the Academy are being honored and prepared by the Nishan Toli to be paraded today. The President's colors, referred to as Nishan in Hindi, are paraded on ceremonial occasions. Ladies and gentlemen, you are all requested to rise and salute when the President's colors are marched onto the parade ground, and thereafter whenever the Nishan Toli or the color bearer march past the dais. The Nishan Toli comprises of 4 escorts and the color bearer, who is specially selected for the occasion. Today, the Nishan Toli is being led by Flight Cadet Prajwal Vedak, who is also bearing the Nishan with Flight Cadet Nitesh Kumar Seni, Flight Cadet Shubham Chetri, Flight Cadet Nitesh Gurung, Flight Cadet Devashish Dobhal, and Flight Cadet Mayur C. Patil.
Today, the reviewing officer and visiting dignitaries will be escorted by UTFO Maria Begum, UTFO Zadhav Namrata Rukmini Anand, Flight Cadet Mohammad Juhaib, Flight Cadet Narayan Soni, UTFO Harshit Jagdish Lohani, and UTFO Pranav Thimaiya. Modernization through indigenization is the outcome of quest for operating indigenously built platforms and supporting self-reliance that has resulted in significant progress on various platforms. The Indian Air Force has always encouraged development of indigenous defense production, capability and capacities. Going back to the history, the Indian Air Force has operated the indigenously designed, developed and manufactured HF-24 Marut fighter, Ajit fighter, which was the Indian derivative of GNAT, HJT-16 Kiran, HT-2 and HPT-32, comprised of indigenously manufactured aircraft, albeit under license. Mission, integrity and excellence. The Indian Air Force sticks to its vision statement always and every time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the parade is about to commence, and in a short while, sounding of the bugle will herald the beginning of the combined graduation parade, autumn term, December 2021. The parade is now marching in, keeping in step with the famous tune of Vijay Bharat. The marching contingents, arms swinging, heels digging in, heads held high, proud of their blue Air Force uniform, heritage and motto. Touch the sky with glory. Whether in the sky or on ground, the air warriors approach their task with confidence, dedication and pride. Shining with determination to become worthy officers today as they put their best foot forward.
Now, the parade adjutant, Flight Cadet Shashank Singh, will hand over the command of the parade to the parade commander, Flight Cadet Shashwat Bharadwaj.
Parade holds great significance for the armed forces. It reinforces discipline and instills a sense of pride and esprit de corps. It is a way of life for the personnel in the armed forces and depicts the level of preparedness and precision of an air warrior. Drill and marching are two essential elements of a military parade which ensure a disciplined team. The word parade comes from the old tradition of formation combat, in which the soldiers were held in strict formations to maximize their combat effectiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, may I draw your attention to your right as the Nishan Toli is about to march in before you.
देवियों एवं सज्जनों, जब निशान टोली आपके सामने से गुजरेगी, आपसे अनुरोध है कि आप अपने स्थान पर खड़े हों और वर्दीधारी कार्मिक ध्वज को सल्यूट करें.
Ladies and gentlemen, when the Nishan Toli passes in front of you, all are requested to rise and those in uniform to salute.
अब परेड हमारे समक्ष उपस्थित है। जैसे ही वायुसेना अकादमी के कमांडेंट, वायु अफसर, कमांडिंग इन चीफ, प्रशिक्षण कमान एवं पुनरीक्षण अधिकारी, चीफ ऑफ एयर स्टाफ परेड पर पहुंचेंगे, परेड इन सभी का अभिवादन करेगी। आज परेड में नंबर 3 वायुसेना बैंड उपस्थित है, जिसका नेतृत्व वारंट ऑफिसर रॉबर्ट जॉन जॉर्ज कर रहे हैं। यह बैंड आज चुनिंदा फौजी धुनें बजाएगा, जो कि खास तौर पर इस समारोह के लिए चुनी गई हैं। शुरुआत में आपने एयरफोर्स कलर्स की धुन सुनी। इसके अलावा इवनिंग स्टार, वायु शक्ति और सारे जहां से अच्छा को भी आप सुन सकेंगे। बाद में नव कमीशन प्राप्त अधिकारी धीरे चल में आनंद लोक की धुन पर मंच से गुजरेंगे, जो कि सैनिकों की जानी पहचानी धुन है।
Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Rekha Prabhakaran, President of our local, has arrived. The parade contingent before you, geared up for today's combined graduation parade, has been trained under the guidance of Wing Commander K. Srinivasan, Senior Instructor, Outdoor Training, Squadron Leader Sanjay Singh, Flight Lieutenant Akanksha Mishra, Directing Staff Outdoor Training, and Warrant Officer Birinder Singh Yadav, Warrant Officer in Charge Outdoor Training, along with their able team of ground training instructors. Ladies and gentlemen, this solemn occasion is thus a culmination of efforts of the trainees on parade and their instructors behind the scene. Today's graduation parade comprises of 4 squadrons of the passing out course. The Nishan Toli is in the center of the parade square. The squadron to your extreme left is number 1 squadron, led by Flight Cadet Chandrajit Kodi Shivanna. Next to number 1 squadron is number 2 squadron, led by Flight Cadet Utkarsh Sharma. The squadron next in line after the Nishan Toli is number 3 squadron, led by Flight Cadet Rajat Sharotri. The squadron to your extreme right is number 4 squadron, led by Flight Cadet Savan Man.
देवियों एवं सज्जनों, एयर मार्शल श्री कुमार प्रभाकरन, वायुसेना मेडल कमांडेंट, वायुसेना अकादमी का आगमन हो रहा है।
Ladies and gentlemen, Air Marshal Sri Kumar Prabhakaran, Vayu Sena Medal, Commandant Air Force Academy, has arrived. He is being received by Air Vice Marshal Lalit Kumar Chawla, Vayu Sena Medal, Vishish Seva Medal, Deputy Commandant Air Force Academy.
अब हम इस परेड पर वितरित किए जाने वाले पुरस्कारों के बारे में बता दें ताकि आप उनके महत्व से अवगत हो जाएं, विशेषकर वे जिनके सुपुत्र सुपुत्री अथवा संबंधी आज इन पुरस्कारों को प्राप्त करेंगे। प्रेसिडेंट्स प्लाक, यह पुरस्कार पायलट कोर्स, ग्राउंड ड्यूटी कोर्स एवं नेविगेशन कोर्स में प्रथम आने वाले प्रशिक्षणार्थी को प्रदान किया जाता है। वायुसेना अध्यक्ष द्वारा स्वॉर्ड ऑफ ऑनर, यह पायलट कोर्स में समग्र प्रथम आने वाले प्रशिक्षणार्थी को प्रदान की जाती है। The Indian Air Force is in a phase of a comprehensive force modernization to enable it to safeguard Indian interest. Towards self-reliance efforts and Atmanirbhar Bharat mission, the Indian Air Force is inducting increasing number of indigenously designed, developed and manufactured Akash surface-to-air guided missile systems.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Ambika Singh, President of our regional, has arrived.
Indigenously designed and developed surface-to-surface and air-launched versions of the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile and Astra beyond visual range air-to-air missile, new generation anti-radiation missile and other smart air-to-surface precision munitions are at advanced stages of development and flight testing. Numerous Indian companies and micro, small and medium enterprises are partners in manufacturing of these weapons.
We are also inducting several types of radars indigenously designed and developed by Defence Research and Development Organization and manufactured by Bharat Electronics Limited, which include Indra, Rohini, Arudra, Ashwini, Rajendra and mountain radars. AFCAT, which provides the ground network for the Indian Air Force. Integrated Air Command and Control System, which provides the air picture of the entire Indian airspace.
देवियों एवं सज्जनों, एयर मार्शल मानवेंद्र सिंह, परम विशिष्ट सेवा मेडल, अति विशिष्ट सेवा मेडल, वीर चक्र, विशिष्ट सेवा मेडल, एडीसी, एयर ऑफिसर कमांडिंग इन चीफ, प्रशिक्षण कमान का आगमन हो रहा है।
Ladies and gentlemen, Air Marshal Manvendra Singh, Param Vishist Seva Medal, Ati Vishist Seva Medal, Veer Chakra, Vishist Seva Medal, ADC, Air Officer Commanding in Chief, Training Command has arrived. He is being received by the Commandant, Air Force Academy.
At this stage, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to apprise you the sequence of flypasts for today's event. As the parade presents arms to the reviewing officer, a flypast of 3 Pilatus PC-7 Mark II aircraft led by Squadron Leader Anoop will give an airborne salute as the parade advances forward in review order and present arms to the reviewing officer. 3 Chetak helicopters led by Wing Commander Arunima Vidhate will fly past in a wick formation. After the commissioning ceremony, as the first and last rank of newly commissioned officers approach the dais, you will see a fly past of 3 Hawk and Kiran aircraft formation led by Wing Commander Jinu Praveen and Wing Commander Akhilesh. Today's fly past is being coordinated and supervised by Chief Operations Officer of Air Force Academy, Group Captain Harish Garg. He is being assisted by Group Captain Amit Sharma and Flight Lieutenant Venkatesh.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Neeta Chaudhary, President AFA, has arrived. We are all going through the phase of fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. The Indian Air Force stepped up its efforts to meet emerging requirements all across the Indian territory during the ongoing pandemic. The Indian Air Force is operating a round-the-clock COVID Air Support Management Cell at the Palam Air Base since April 2021 for the distribution of relief material coming from foreign countries.
देवियों एवं सज्जनों, आज के हमारे पुनरीक्षण अधिकारी चीफ ऑफ एयर स्टाफ एयर चीफ मार्शल वीआर चौधरी परम विशिष्ट सेवा मेडल, अति विशिष्ट सेवा मेडल, वायुसेना मेडल एडीसी का आगमन हो रहा है.
Ladies and gentlemen, the reviewing officer for today's parade, Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary, Param Vishis Seva Medal, Ati Vishis Seva Medal, Vayu Sena Medal, ADC has arrived. He is being received by Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief Training Command and Commandant Air Force Academy.
दीक्षांत परेड आपके निरीक्षण के लिए तैयार है श्रीमान.
Air Chief Marshal was born on 4th September 1962 and commissioned into the fighter stream of the Indian Air Force on 29th December 1982. He is an alumnus of the National Defence Academy. The air officer has flown various types of aircraft and is experienced on MiG-21, MiG-23MF and MiG-29. He has flown over 3,800 hours and was a member of the first aerobatic team on Kirans. He is a CAT A qualified flying instructor, graduate of the Defence Services Staff College and an instrument rating instructor and examiner. The Air Chief Marshal has a rich experience of operational flying, having undertaken numerous air defence missions during Operation Meghdoot and Operation Safed Sagar. During his illustrious career, he has held a number of field and staff appointments. He has been an Air Force examiner on several types of aircraft. He commanded a MiG-29 squadron and served as the Chief Operations Officer and Base Commander of frontline bases in Western and Southwestern Air Commands.
The parade adjutant is Flight Cadet Shashank Singh. Number 1 Squadron is commanded by Flight Cadet Chandrajit Kodi Shivanna. Number 2 Squadron is commanded by Flight Cadet Utkarsh Sharma. The Nishan bearer is Flight Cadet Prajwal Vedak. Number 3 Squadron is commanded by Flight Cadet Rajat Babita Sharotri. Number 4 Squadron is commanded by Flight Cadet Savan Man.
The Air Chief Marshal has the unique distinction of being an instructor at the Defence Services Staff College, Wellington, as well as Defence Services Command and Staff College at Zambia. The Air Chief Marshal has been instrumental in enhancing operational capability as the Deputy Chief of Air Staff, Senior Air Staff Officer, Eastern Air Command, Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Western Air Command, and Vice Chief of Air Staff prior to taking over as the Chief of Air Staff on 30th September 2021. In recognition of his meritorious services of an exceptionally high order, he was awarded the Vayu Sena Medal in Jan 2004, Ati Vishish Seva Medal in Jan 2015, and Param Vishish Seva Medal in Jan 2021. The Air Chief Marshal is married to Mrs. Neeta Chaudhary and they are blessed with 2 sons.
निशांत परेड को स्क्वाड्रन कॉलम में मंच से गुजरने की आज्ञा दे श्रीमान। आज्ञा है।
Now, you can see the parade commander marching towards the side of number 1 squadron beside the parade adjutant.
Ladies and gentlemen, the passing out cadets will now present before you a display of their skill, synergy and discipline as they march past in front of the dais.
देवियों एवं सज्जनों, जब निशान टोली आपके सामने से गुजरेगी, आपसे अनुरोध है कि आप अपने स्थान पर खड़े हों और वर्दीधारी कार्मिक ध्वज को सल्यूट करें।
Ladies and gentlemen, when the Nishan Toli passes in front of you, all are requested to rise and those in uniform to salute. Moving in front of you, playing the tune Victor the Cadet's March, composed by Bandmaster, Warrant Officer Robert John George.
दीक्षांत परेड समीक्षा क्रम में आगे बढ़ गए मंच से तेज चल दीक्षांत परेड General salute! Salam! Just! Sean Fred! Punch-up! Just! Sean Fred! Boom it! Just! दीक्षांत परेड, पदवी अनुदान, पुरस्कार वितरण और शपथ ग्रहण के लिए तैयार है श्रीमान।
The trainees being commissioned today are
Flying Officer Sashwat Bhardwaj.
Flying Officer Kaustubh Chaturvedi,
Flying Officer Shashank Singh,
Flying Officer Chinta Madhulika Pratyusha,
Flying Officer Pranav Sharma,
Flying Officer Aditya Pratap Singh,
Flying Officer Shubham Kumar,
Flying Officer Vineet Pant,
Flying Officer Adarsh Pratap,
Flying Officer Yashodeep Manohar Patil,
Flying Officer Nitesh Khantwal,
Flying Officer Rohit Rajendra Deshmukh,
Flying Officer Ananya Sharma,
Flying Officer Kumar Divyansh Anubhav,
Flying Officer Vipan Parshottam Singh Chauhan,
Flying Officer Akashdeep Kashyap,
Flying Officer Sardar Harjinder Singh Khehra,
Flying Officer Pavanjeet Jagveer Singh,
Flying Officer Vedant Nagar,
Flying Officer Puneet Basappa Hossamani,
Flying Officer Manish Kumar,
Flying Officer Vaibhav Bhagwan Mane,
Flying Officer Mahendra Saharan,
Flying Officer Ajay Nathawat,
Flying Officer Lokik Patel,
Flying Officer Matha Sai Manohar.
Flying Officer Ankit Pradeep Kumar Chauhan.
Flying Officer Aditya Pratap Singh.
Flying Officer Avinash Ramchandra Nair.
Flying Officer Kailash Singh Manral.
Flying Officer Shrijit KS.
Flying Officer Gaurav Sharma. Flying Officer Shaurya Mathur.
Flying Officer Chandrajit Kodi Shivanna.
Flying Officer Suresh Trishla Kumar Pansotra.
Flying Officer Jaskaran Singh.
Flying Officer Pink Moon Simon.
Flying Officer Anshika Mishra.
Flying Officer Bhaskar Kumar.
Flying Officer Thokcham Thompson Mitei.
Flying Officer Sadhvi Mahajan.
Flying Officer Srujan Rangayan.
Flying Officer Dushyant Vahi.
Flying Officer Rahul Kumar Chaube.
Flying Officer A.K. Pranav.
Flying Officer Jay Kumar.
Flying Officer Tarang Gupta.
Flying Officer Krishna Rampal.
Flying Officer Neeraj Kumar.
Flying Officer Vishal Sharma.
Flying Officer Savan Man.
Flying Officer Kirti Joginder Man.
Flying Officer Gopal Kumar.
Flying Officer Potsangbam Addison Singh.
Flying Officer Siddhant Beniwal.
Flying Officer Dhyanendra Chauhan.
Flying Officer Divyanshu Vats.
Flying Officer Pranab Banik.
Flying Officer Ankit Anil Prasad Bhatt.
Flying Officer Abhinav Sirohi. Flying Officer Lakshman Shankar Ram Suthar.
Barka! March! Dash! Dash!
Flying Officer Rohit Raju.
Flying Officer Leo Varghese.
Flying Officer Vinayak Purohit.
Flying Officer Manoj Bhaskaran.
Flying Officer Paridhi Sood.
Flying Officer Gulshan Kumar Sahu.
Flying Officer Shashindra Kumar Singh.
Flying Officer Tarun Singh Rana.
Flying Officer Pooja Anand Rao Shinde.
Flying Officer Parvesh Kumar Samota.
Flying Officer Ravi Chaudhary.
Flying Officer Sudeep Pal.
Flying Officer Ritik Kumar Jana.
Flying Officer Amit Patil.
Flying Officer Kartik Patil.
Flying Officer Deepak Singh Moore.
Flying Officer Anuj Raghav.
Flying Officer Parth Gupta.
Flying Officer Simran Ajit Walia.
Flying Officer Renuka Chauhan.
Flying Officer Saurabh Ehlawat.
Flying Officer Patiwada Akhil.
Flying Officer Bhagya Singh Anand.
Flying Officer Vishal Kaushik.
Flying Officer Meghna Bhalla.
Flying Officer Tarun Kumar Badshra.
Flying Officer Sahil Saini.
Flying Officer Gaurav Sharma. Flying Officer Swapnil Patil. Flying Officer Navneet Punya.
Forward! Attention!
Flying Officer Mitul Jailakshmi Nair.
Flying Officer Rajat Kumar.
Flying Officer Mohammad Rashidul Haq.
Flying Officer Ankit Daljit Dalal.
Flying Officer Pranay Kavita Dharamraj Bhagat.
Flying Officer Isha Pawan Kumar Pawar.
Flying Officer Madhusudan Narayan Depawat.
Flying Officer Proshenjit Ajanta Roy.
Flying Officer Megha Negi.
Flying Officer Akhilesh Kumar.
Flying Officer Siju Dineshan Nayan.
Flying Officer Adarsh Rajshri Baluapuri.
Flying Officer Shrikant Mishra.
Flying Officer Sai Shraddha Swayam Prabhu Mogannavar.
Flying Officer Shivam Sharma.
Flying Officer Gursimran Singh Brad.
Flying Officer Shravani Manjusha Bhargav.
Flying Officer Tanuj Sharma.
Flying Officer Shiv Kumar.
Flying Officer Ashima Usha Rameshwar Singh.
Flying Officer Akash Indraraj Bhati.
Flying Officer Shubdeep Singh.
Flying Officer Varun Yadav.
Flying Officer Anchit Sharma.
Flying Officer Rathor Bharat Singh.
Flying Officer Arun Sebastian.
Flying Officer Shubham Pavan Kumar Manhas.
Flying Officer Jammu Aruna Tarun Kumar.
Ugly line! Forward! Attention!
Flying Officer Swast Kumar Tiwari.
Flying Officer Utkarsh Sharma.
Flying Officer Svetan Vasurao.
Flying Officer Jordan Lawrence Sequeira.
Flying Officer Prateek Krishna Dharamveer Chauhan.
Flying Officer Nidhi Khari.
Flying Officer Kunal Chaudhary.
Flying Officer Nishant Pandey.
Flying Officer Rohini Rana.
Flying Officer Anmol Deep Benipal.
Flying Officer Bhanu Archana Pratap Singh Ranawat.
Flying Officer Ashish Singh Tomar.
Flying Officer Astha Kaur.
Flying Officer Chandan Shail Kumar Mishra.
Flying Officer Shubham Chandra Mola.
Flying Officer Rajat Babita Sharotri.
Flying Officer Arshpreet Kaur.
Flying Officer Amartya Sharadrao Deshmukh.
Flying Officer Debanjan Nibedita Kundu.
Flying Officer Mihika Lakshmi Bahuguna.
Flying Officer Manish Kumar Sehag.
Flying Officer Priyank Anuradha Nagar.
Flying Officer Ayushi Mahajan.
Flying Officer Simran Lochab.
Flying Officer Mayuk Chakraborty.
Flying Officer Saksham Pandey.
Flying Officer Vrinda Mehta.
Marco! Mark! Turn!
Flying Officer Godse Vedvrat Vivek.
Flying Officer Aditi V. Parida.
Flying Officer Rohan Pillai.
Flying Officer Saurav Bisht.
Flying Officer Kulwant Balbir Singh Sangwan.
Flying Officer Galla Punit Kumar.
Flying Officer Amit Patel.
Flying Officer Sagar Kumar Dubey.
Flying Officer Tavish Upadhyay.
Flying Officer Gaurav Gokul.
Flying Officer Nikhil Dehlan.
Flying Officer Anuj Sharma.
Flying Officer Roshni Subramanyam Iyer.
Flying Officer Rajat Rohila.
Flying Officer Prajwal Pandey.
Flying Officer Yogesh Yadav.
Flying Officer P. Sivkumar Gautam.
Flying Officer Shivang Chatterjee.
Flying Officer Gaurav Sudesh Pakaya.
Flying Officer Abhijit Nair.
Flying Officer Navneet Vijay Kumar Singh.
Flying Officer Akshay Banyal.
Flying Officer Siddharth Sri Kumar Menon.
Flying Officer Ajay Thakur.
Flying Officer Ashwini Priyanka Kumar.
Flying Officer Rishikesh Singh.
Flying Officer Islam.
Flying Officer Ashutosh Digari. Flying Officer Vishal Kumar Cots.
Marco! Mark!
Award of Wings to Indian Navy and Indian Coast Guard officers. Lieutenant Umesh Khurana. Lieutenant Sayyam Divedi. Assistant Commandant Nishant Yadav. Rohit Jaiswal. Assistant Commandant Ravendra Singh Ramola. Assistant Commandant Lopsang Siring.
Assistant Commandant Saurabh Yadav. Assistant Commandant Gaurav Singhal. Assistant Commandant Deepak. Assistant Commandant Vishwajit Dahiya. Assistant Commandant Manoranjan Nayak.
Award of Wings to Flight Cadets of Vietnamese People's Air Force. Flight Cadet Do Quang Nyat. Flight Cadet Chan Myek Zun. Flight Cadet Nguyen Ming Ang.
Ladies and gentlemen, the reviewing officer will now felicitate the award winners. President's Plaque, first in order of merit, Flying Branch, goes to Flying Officer Shashwat Bharadwaj. Chief of Air Staff, Sword of Honor, goes to Flying Officer Shashwat Bharadwaj. President's Plaque, first in order of merit, Navigation Branch, goes to Flying Officer Shrikant Mishra. President's Plaque, first in order of merit, Ground Duty Officers Course, goes to Flying Officer Astha Kaur of Administration Branch.
Commandant, Air Force Academy, will now administer oath to the newly commissioned officers.
आप मेरे मैं बोलने के पश्चात अपना रैंक, नाम, नंबर और ब्रांच बोले। मैं ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची निष्ठा और वफादारी रखूंगा और मैं भारत सरकार की भारतीय वायुसेना में सेवा के प्रति वचनबद्ध रूप में ईमानदारी और विश्वसनीयता के साथ सेवा करूंगा और जहां भी आदेश किया जाए हवाई, सड़क या समुद्री मार्ग से जाऊंगा और अपने जान की आखिरी सांस तक भारत के राष्ट्रपति और मेरे ऊपर रखे गए किसी भी अफसर के सभी आदेशों को मानूंगा और उनका पालन करूंगा।
दीक्षांत परेड आपके अभिभाषण के लिए तैयार है श्रीमान। दीक्षांत परेड वेशम।
Ladies and gentlemen, the reviewing officer will now address the parade.
Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Training Command, Commandant, Air Force Academy, esteemed veterans, faculty, staff, newly commissioned officers, proud parents and families, trainee officers, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor and privilege for me to be here to review the combined graduation parade of 208th pilot and ground duty courses and 103rd navigation course, along with whom are graduating 2 officers from the Indian Navy, 9 officers from the Indian Coast Guard, and 3 cadets from Vietnam who have received their wings today. At the outset, I would like to express my heartfelt grief and sorrow on the untimely demise of India's first CDS, General Bipin Rawat, Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, and 12 Armed Forces personnel on board the ill-fated helicopter on 8th of December. We have chosen to cut down many events that would otherwise have been a part of this graduation parade as a mark of respect to the departed souls. I convey my heartiest congratulations to all graduating officers for the immaculate turnout, precise drill moments, and an excellent parade. I am sure that today you would be filled with immense satisfaction, pride, and excitement as you march through the hallowed portals of Secom Block to become commissioned officers of one of the finest air forces in the world. I congratulate you for your individual and collective achievements, and my felicitations to all the award winners for displaying exceptional professional commitment and hard work all through your training period. I acknowledge and appreciate the effort put in by each one of you in this academy to reach this significant milestone of your life. I would like to convey my deepest gratitude to all parents and family members who have nurtured and raised you to take on a career in Indian Air Force. It's a pleasure to have the parents at the Academy after a gap of almost 2 years. You have undergone an extensive curriculum as a part of a rigorous training schedule designed to prepare you for leadership roles in the profession that you have chosen. Your successful passing out is a direct reflection of the skills you have developed and demonstrated while acquiring knowledge. I commend the efforts of all officers and airmen who have guided, mentored, and taught you not just the basics of your profession, but also imbibed in you the ethos of the Air Force, which is mission, integrity, and excellence. Remember that the same dedication, adaptability, and willingness to continually push yourself will be required from you time and again in the future. The same high standards that you have shown today will form the basis of safe and effective operations in the future, no matter what your role. Although your formal training has been successfully completed, do remember that the learning process has only just begun, and you would be required to continue to work hard and take on additional responsibilities as officers of the Indian Air Force. You must remember that the sacred oath that you took, bearing allegiance to the Constitution of India, is a commitment for life. You must work honestly and faithfully with utmost dedication and integrity throughout your career. As you move from Air Force Academy to your units in the field, you will operate expensive and sophisticated equipment, for which you will have to gain expertise and mastery. The nature of warfare is undergoing fundamental changes. New technology and radically new doctrines have emerged in the last few years. India's security dynamics involves multifaceted threats and challenges. It will require us to build multi-domain capabilities and execute all our operations simultaneously and in shortened timeframes. The Air Force has big expectations from you, as you will be the leaders who will steer the Indian Air Force and this country into the future. The Air Force is on the cusp of transformation into a highly potent Air Force with many new inductions, like the Rafales, the Apache, the Chinook, wide variety of surface-to-air guided weapon systems and radars. Today, as you graduate and move into an environment that is challenging and technology intensive, the Air Force looks upon young and dynamic officers like you to carry forward the rich legacy of professional attitude, aptitude, and temperament shown by your predecessors. To be a good officer, you must have an overall appreciation of the nuances of all branches of the Indian Air Force. Therefore, the ability to understand the working of all branches, be it flying, technical, logistics, accounts, or administration, will complement your basic professional knowledge and help you in becoming a thorough professional. As officers, you must develop an understanding of this complex and dynamic world through the study of military history, geopolitics, and international affairs. This can be possible only if you inculcate good reading habits in the early years of your service career. The Air Force will give you ample opportunities to perform, excel, and nurture your professional competence if you have the will and the fortitude. As a military officer, you are bound to face certain hardships in your career. Never allow these hardships and constraints to affect you mentally and physically. There is an old adage, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. This should be the motto of your career, and you should remain physically, emotionally, and mentally fit to meet and accept any challenge in life. So what does the Air Force expect from you as officers and commanders? We expect exceptional professionalism and unquestioned integrity. We expect you to maintain the highest standards of personal conduct and moral values that would reflect the dignity and pride of being in the profession of arms. We expect you to be fair, consistent, and selfless, while at work, to have compassion and understanding, to have the courage, and of course, to live up to the values that have been ingrained during your training period. Today is a joyous moment for you and your family members. Also, it is a day when your ambitions and ideas will take wings and form an integral part of your journey in the Air Force. You must always live up to the trust and faith this organization has placed on your shoulders. Carry this responsibility with pride. We have celebrated this Swarnim Vijay Varsh to pay tributes to those who took part in India's greatest military victory in 1971. The stories of valor and courage and sacrifices of men of all the three services should continue to inspire you and motivate you to always keep the nation first. As I congratulate you, I also pray that the qualities which have carried you through the rigorous regime of Air Force Academy will further develop and mature during your career. I am confident that the training that you have received under an able and competent faculty will not fail you in the most difficult situations. I am also certain that you will carry ahead the rich legacy of great resolve, exceptional professionalism, and the timeless traditions into a world of infinite possibilities. Once again, I would like to wish you all the very best for your career in the Indian Air Force, and may you all touch the sky with glory. Jai Hind.
Dikshant Parade! Uttap! Shast!
Ladies and gentlemen, the band will now play the National Anthem. You requested to rise and sing along.
दीक्षांत परेड को ले जाने की आज्ञा दे श्रीमान।
आज्ञा है।
निशान तलाब, निशान को ले जाओ। दीक्षांत परेड सलामत शस्त्र। निशान तलाब Pakistan! Attention!
देवियों एवं सज्जनों, जब निशान टोली आपके सामने से गुजरेगी, आपसे अनुरोध है कि आप अपने स्थान पर खड़े हों और वर्दीधारी कार्मिक ध्वज को सैल्यूट करें।
The band is now playing Prahar, the airstrike, composed and arranged by Warrant Officer Robert John George. And to this tune, ladies and gentlemen, you can now view the cadets of the junior course forming up in two flanks in front of you.
The newly commissioned officers are taking their positions at the rear, waiting to step into their new world. The newly commissioned officers will pass through this formation in slow march, recollecting their memorable stay at this academy. Each step signifies their transformation to bold and responsible officers of the Indian Air Force ready to serve the nation.
As the newly commissioned officers receive the first salute from their juniors, their hearts are filled with immense pride and satisfaction for having passed down to them the cherished values and traditions. As they slowly march down this lane, they also remember.
May I direct your attention to the 3 Kiran aircraft formation led by Wing Commander Akhilesh, which is approaching from straight ahead.
As they slowly march down this lane, they also remember those people associated with them in their year-long training who have helped them to make it to this day, an indelible moment for them and their families.
As the newly commissioned officers go past the saluting days, they extend their first salutation as officers to the President of India who has commissioned them. This is indeed a moment of great pride for both the newly commissioned officers as well as all the instructors and supporting staff at the academy and other training establishments.
इस क्षण मुझे हिंदी के एक प्रतिष्ठित कवि सोहन लाल द्विवेदी द्वारा रचित कुछ पंक्तियां याद आ रही हैं। न हाथ एक शस्त्र हो, न हाथ एक अस्त्र हो, न अन्न वीर वस्त्र हो, हटो नहीं डरो नहीं, बढ़े चलो बढ़े चलो, रहे समक्ष हिम शिखर, तुम्हारा प्रण उठे निखर, भले ही जाए तन बिखर, रुको नहीं झुको नहीं, बढ़े चलो बढ़े चलो, चलो नई मिसाल हो, चलो नई मशाल हो, बढ़ो नया कमाल हो, झुको नहीं रुको नहीं, बढ़े चलो बढ़े चलो। ये पंक्तियां संदेश हैं इन नवोदित अधिकारियों को। आज की ये शहर इन पंछियों की नई उड़ान बनकर आई है। भारत माता के ये वीर सपूत अपने लक्ष्य की ओर निकल पड़े हैं और ये कहते हैं जिंदगी की उड़ान अभी बाकी है, जिंदगी के कई इम्तिहान अभी बाकी हैं, अभी तो नापी है मुट्ठी भर ज़मीं हमने, अभी तो सारा आसमां बाकी है।
Ladies and gentlemen, you can now see the last few ranks of newly commissioned officers approaching the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to 3 Hawk aircraft formation led by Wing Commander Jeenu Praveen approaching from straight ahead. and gentlemen, don't go anywhere, as in a short while we will be presenting in front of you a scintillating display of aerobatics by the PC-7 Mark II aircraft. I request all the parents to please be seated. I request all the parents to please remain seated.
We now introduce to you the Pilatus PC-7 Mark II aircraft. Look ahead as the aircraft is carrying out what we call a steep takeoff at 100 knots and a 35-degree angle of climb. Today's display is being carried out by Squadron Leader A.K. Yadav and Squadron Leader Anubhav Berwal. Both are experienced, qualified flying instructors on PC-7 Mark II aircraft. All parents present here will be proud of the fact that their wards, Stage 1 and Stage 2 pilot course cadets, are trained to perform these complex and intricate aerobatic maneuvers under the able guidance of qualified flying instructors. Thereafter, their aerobatic skills are tested and scrutinized before they pass out from this very academy. Ladies and gentlemen, look to your right as he positions himself for the first maneuver. Now as he comes towards us, he pitches up and describes a vertical circle in the sky. This maneuver, ladies and gentlemen, is known as the loop. The aircraft now recovers close to 215 knots and just 300 feet above the ground, positioning nicely for a flyby. The pilot is now turning at max rate towards us, and and accelerating to 220 knots for the next maneuver. Ladies and gentlemen, there he pulls up for the roll of the top. Look ahead and see him tipping over to left and descending while accelerating towards us. He is now positioning for a hard turn. In this maneuver, the pilot undergoes gravitational force of up to 5 G. Shift your gaze to the extreme right. You can see the aircraft coming in straight to carry out a knife edge. As the name suggests, the aircraft will cut through the air like a knife. This is done by holding 90-degree angle of bank and an application of rudder to hold the nose on the horizon. Comes in from your left. Let's see what he does next. And the aircraft is flying inverted. Like they say, us pilots have a very different perspective of the world. You look up at them and they look up at you. Ladies and gentlemen, keep your eyes on the aircraft as he now carries out a roll in front of the dais as a salute. That was the basic trainer aircraft of the Indian Air Force, the Pilatus PC-7 Mark II.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was indeed a thrilling and splendid performance. Hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed presenting it to you. Now, I request you all to remain seated till the reviewing officer has entered the Nirmaljeet Singh Sekho block. Arrangement of refreshment has been made in hangar number 1.